Look at that. So I was just telling Maxine, hey everybody, welcome. Today is March 14th, Wednesday, March 14th. I am here with the amazing, look at her. I said you probably didn't see it, the effervescently beautiful Maxine Earhart. Kind of like Amelia. I just had to ask her that. So Anna Avega's on. So Anna, let us know you can hear us or see us.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, Hap McMullen's on, Commissioner McMullen.
Oh my goodness.
You can't see that yet, so I'm going to be your eyes and your ears, even though those glasses are beautiful. They probably aren't. It's hard for me to see too.
Adjust them
look, and your wonderful husband is on.
Hi,
so
honey.
let us know you can hear us. Just give us a thumbs up. I'm pretty sure you can. Okay, looks good, sounds good. Thank you. So I am so excited that you're here. First of all, thank you for adjusting the camera. She came in and she was awesome. And you're not New York crass, I promise. I think you're amazing. You have such grace and style, and I want to get into all that, but thank you for being on the show.
You're very welcome.
We've been trying for a while, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't she look amazing? Look at that. I can't pull that off.
You better not.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't think your wife would be happy you come in with pearls and cat eye glasses.
You don't know our life. I'm kidding. So everybody knows that you and Kurt own Maxines sonShine.
Yes.
But we want a little bit of a background. There's so much that we want to cover today because your bio is amazing. And I want to give them a little history on you. And I was even learning stuff today. I know you guys make fun of me that I don't read the bios, but I read Maxine's and I knew enough to be dangerous. And then she just threw like 10 things out at me right before we went on air. So welcome.
Thank you.
You look beautiful. All right. So give us a little background on you. They want to know.
Let's see, I was born in 1959. See, I'm not afraid to tell my age. I'm actually very excited because I turned my golden year this year. So, do I go way back? I went way back.
Wow, you did, 1959. Just don't tell me just make sure at 125 we are not at first grade.
I'm sorry. I was raised in Oswego, New York, upstate New York, right on Lake Ontario. And then when I was 18 years old, I moved to New York City to find fame and fortune, to be a model. But what I found was myself, because when you travel a lot, you really learn a lot.
So why did you become a model? Did you always want to be a model? You've got the height and the presence, right? Yeah. So that's it. No. You've got the looks.
I wanted to be a stewardess because all I really cared about was traveling the world. So fortunately, I did not become a stewardess, but becoming a model was just as good. I got to go live in Europe, so I got to live in Milan and Paris and London and New York and fly back and forth and fly on the Concorde. And
oh, you got to fly on that before it was shut down.
Yeah.
Was it as amazing as everybody said?
It was the 80s in Manhattan.
And I missed the 80s.
And I had a penthouse apartment and a limo for 1 year because I was Miss New York State in 1979.
Wow. Yeah. Miss New York State?
Yeah.
What pageant does that feed into?
It was the Miss USA pageant.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
The talent, I was a singer.
That's right, because you sing at your restaurant, which we'll get to in a minute. So on the fashion side, was it as crazy and bad and awful as everybody said it was?
Yes.
Says it was?
It was horrible.
Did you have to starve yourself?
Yes.
Lots of crazy diet pills and diets and people being mean? Were people angry?
Yeah.
You're a size -0, Maxine. You're too fat.
Oh yeah, 10 times a day. You would go on these appointments, go-sees. Back then, we went to a lot of warehouse space in Hell's Kitchen and all over Manhattan. I don't know how much they do in Manhattan anymore. It's so expensive there. Maybe I think it's more Brooklyn and Queens now. But back then, 10 times a day. Oh, you're too fat, you're too skinny, your teeth are too big, your teeth are too small, your nose is too big, your nose is too small, your hair is too long, your hair is too short.
What does that do to your psyche? Were you just strong enough to deal with it, or did you have... Because you see it, there's issues. It's always coming out about how if you're constantly put down like that.
Well, I think it was really hard. I mean, you're 19 years old, so you don't really have a sense of who you are yet. So you're constantly confused.
Does that ever come? I'm not sure I have a sense of who I am yet either, and I'm above 50.
I didn't like it. I didn't like constantly feeling, you feel bad all the time.
Right.
You come home at the end of the day. I mean, you're going on 10 appointments a day, so sometimes you could see 100 different photographers in 10 days, and maybe only 3 of them really love you. And then the next week, though, you can go on 50 appointments, and but it only takes just one. One loves you, and then they photograph you. The next thing you know, you're on a plane to Milan, and you've got this really great job, and you're making several $1,000s, and then you blow all the money on the Concorde home.
I wasn't sure what you were going to say, but we'll go with the Concord home.
Well,
I like that. So Maxine has a beautiful martini. I was so happy. She walked in and she said, I'll have a martini. Do you have blue cheese stuffed olives? We're kindred spirits. So what was your take?
Mine's drinking coffee.
That's because it's coffee. It's been here since the morning. What was your takeaway from your modeling years? Obviously, you got to travel, but it sets you up. You have some amazing memories from there. Obviously, you talked about it very very positively, I think, overall.
I would say my takeaway was that, think about that. It's a great experience for being outgoing. I was probably much more shy when I came from my hometown and moved to New York. But after a decade of, you don't know the language. So after, a decade, you know the languages in various countries. Of course, you don't know the language. You know.
Well, that's because you were from Oswego. Us people from New York, we don't know the language anywhere except New York.
But in like several languages, you could learn how to shop and where's the bank and to eat, and you were all by yourself a lot when you would go on appointments. You would have a map or have to figure out. We did not have smartphones. God, I would have loved to have had a smartphone back in the 80s. Yeah.
All right, we have a couple of comments I don't want to miss.
Okay.
So John Wild says she's one of my favorite people.
Oh.
Robin says she's here and that it's under Eddie's pin name. She's naturally beautiful. She is. Daniel Waldron says Maxine's amazing. Can't wait for the new cocktails, which we're going to get to. We're going to get there. I promise we're going to get there.
That's why I'm drinking.
That's why. Yeah, we're celebrating.
That's
totally.
what I say to people.
Me too. At 10 a.m. is what I do. So we love playing at Maxine's. So that must be somebody who plays at the restaurant.
Hi.
All right. So what happened after your career? So you, at some point, you go, okay, this is not me anymore.
Right.
And then what happens? What happens next?
My sister had moved to Orlando, and she was working for Disney, and she invited me down to visit. I came down because New Yorkers love Florida. We always come down in the horrible winter weather anyway. We were going to Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Orlando for many, many years. And I came down to visit her, and I just was like, I'm done. I turned 30, and I decided it was time for a change. The modeling days were kind of over,
right.
When actually they were over like in the mid-20s anyway. You can't really model too much longer after that, but you can do other little things. But I decided to move to Orlando, and then I got involved behind the camera, and I started work for Disney for a television show as a stage manager.
What show was it?
It was called Disney TV Tryouts for Children. It was
very
so much fun.
cool.
Yeah,
how long did you do that?
About almost 3 years.
All right, so you really were behind the camera for a while. And so what did that teach you? Because eventually I have to find out how you made the leap to restaurant guru.
Well, even though I wasn't full-time, so you're really always freelance. So as a model, you're freelance, and then even when I was working for various companies and shows, you're still freelance. And then because you have that entrepreneur spirit, I got involved with, I decided to have my own cinnamon glazed almond cart and to be an entrepreneur. And I had a cart right here on Church Street Station.
You did?
I did.
No way.
Yeah,
were you inside the, what is it called?
It was actually right next to Wolf Camera, which was underneath the Olive Garden. Remember, there was a
Yes.
jungle gym.
I love jungle gyms.
Yeah, there was like a little
Olive
spinning
Garden.
machine. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on back then, and I had a lot of fun.
I probably ate those. Were you up at I did a lot of Church Street.
Pizzeria Uno was there.
Oh yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
when
the
my
90s.
kids were growing. That was the
early
90s. I was very young then.
And they wanted the cart to be open like all the time.
Right.
Like from 9 a.m. until 2 a.m. And we didn't make any money until after 10 o'clock at night, because what I learned was nobody wants nuts. Nobody wants a new product. Everybody wants something they're comfortable with.
It's true.
Everybody wants pizza and coffee.
Right.
So the coffee cart across the street from me made $250,000. The same year I made $30,000. So that's what I learned. No more peanut carts.
They don't even have food on Church Street anymore, do they? I can't even keep track. Probably not. But I miss the cart days. I miss jungle gyms. I miss the little animals they put on the drinks.
If you want to know something about business, get yourself a hot dog cart and put it on a corner. You will learn a lot.
That teaches you.
Yes, it does. It does.
Eddie Nichols says, "Thank you,
Eddie.
Maxine. Love you, sister. This opens up a whole new world for us restaurateurs."
I know, isn't it exciting?
It's so exciting. Can't wait to talk about this. All right, so before we move past and get to the restaurant and get to all these amazing things, and you have a family, which we want to talk about too, because Kurt's on. How did you get your sense of style? Did you have that before you became a model? Did it help fine tune it? Because you definitely have a presence, a persona. People say, Ted, I love your jacket and your shirts, right? But you have your own Maxine style. Where did that come from?
Probably my mother. Yeah, first of all, my mom named me after my Aunt Maxine, who was your classic 1960s beehive, put the cigarette in the cigarette holder. She was single, she hung out at the bar. And us New Yorkers, we wear a lot of black. So what we do is we just sprinkle our black with maybe a little red, a little blue, and a little, animal print.
I love animal print, right?
Yeah.
Because that's been around long before you youngins made that popular.
Yeah.
It's been around.
But my mom was a very flashy dresser, and she loved color. You could see my mom walking a block down there. She'd get all dressed up and put her lipstick on and put the baby in the carriage just to walk downtown, to
As
say
she
hello
should.
to people and walk back home. Yeah.
Do you do that? Are you like you can't go anywhere without makeup and full Maxine regalia?
Oh no. You'll see me. I have two looks. It's either bohemian. I'm a hippie. I admit it. My friends know I love to sit around a campfire. But I've always had that. Like I can go away. I can live in the same clothes for a few days, not wash my hair, sit around a campfire, come home, take a shower, get dressed, and then go to a gala.
Is that what bohemian means? See, my only bohemian I know is Bohemian Rhapsody, and bohemian from what was that movie with Nicole Kidman and where she sings, the Baz Luhrmann movie.
I don't know.
Anyway, they sang Come What May, but that was all about bohemian, and somebody's out there watching.
I just think sometimes bohemian, like when I look at the Grand Boheme downtown, I always say that Maxine's is the real Boheme, because I always think of Boheme as being like where you really don't have a lot of money yet. You're still finding yourself, and you're just expressing the rawness of who you are before you're refined.
So I'll read Kurt's last, but Eddie says Maxine's the Dolly Parton of the food scene. I love that. And then Kurt said Food Olympics in China, which came from modeling.
Oh no, that wasn't from modeling, honey. That was
you should have come, Kurt. We would have loved to have you in the audience.
That was from when I worked behind the camera. I worked for a small company called Last Minute Film and Video, and we were very fortunate. We got to do B-roll and travel around the United States for Disney, doing behind the scenes. So that was a lot of fun.
That's
I got
cool.
to see a lot of the United States. But I went to China with the United States Olympic cooking team.
There's an Olympic cooking team?
Yes, there is. And we went to Beijing and Shanghai, and oh gosh, it was quite the experience. It was 3 weeks. It's very difficult because they don't have a uniform electricity there. And I was an audio girl and production back then.
Oh, wow.
So that was a nightmare. But that was also a lot of fun. I got to go on the Great
How
Wall.
was the food?
That's
always
good.
my thing. Was it? So,
Yeah.
everything gets Americanized here, although I think Orlando is really embracing some of the more traditional Asian foods or any food.
They eat noodles for breakfast.
I love that.
So, we don't normally do that here.
That's why
I eat anything for breakfast.
I
don't
love
care.
Europe because
Yeah.
they drink for breakfast. That's my I was born in the wrong continent, I think. All right, so that was a good question. What's the Hey, listen, you come on. Kurt, you should have been here, but I love it. What's the craziest thing you ate? Must be China.
In China? Probably monkey brains.
Oh, my God.
I'll eat anything.
It's a
terrible thing to say.
No, it's all right.
I try anything once.
We're not a PG show. We're golden.
Not anything, but food-wise, I like to try things. Yeah.
So I do too, but
I'm not afraid.
monkey brains, and so that's a delicacy over there, if I remember.
And ants, they did that was chocolate.
I've had chocolate-covered ants.
Yeah. I try things.
But how was monkey brains?
Disgusting.
Right? Is it? I can't even imagine.
Oh, I've had chicken feet too.
That
chicken was actually
feet.
very big in China. Chicken feet were everywhere.
There are chicken feet at any Asian restaurant you go, any Chinese restaurant you go to
and
here
awful.
too. Yeah, it's just they have it on the dim sum cart at one of my favorite. I have lots of dim sum favorites. By the way, the movie's Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
That came to me like an old person,
I love
like
that
10
movie.
minutes later. But any of the carts, they always have chicken feet, and I watch traditional people eat that, and I'm amazed. I don't want anything that was a foot, let alone
in my mouth.
I'm not a foot fetish person. There, you're right out there. But I also don't like anything that moves on my plate. I don't want to envision it moving. All I can see is the little feet going around.
Yeah.
Bob Lee says Maxine's the best so far, and he also said something earlier. Bob, I'm sorry I missed that, but it was great. Gert Garman's on it. Oh, he said, "God, I love Maxine," is what Bob said.
Well, God,
See?
thank you, everybody.
It's lots of love on here. We have a lot of love, and it's all focused on you, thank God, instead of my forehead. But the way that you have this set up, I'm going to remember this next time.
Yeah, okay.
Because everybody else told me it had to be middle. All right, so let's fast forward. First of all, you have a beautiful family. Kurt's on here, her husband. You have a son.
Yes, I do.
Right? And how old is he?
He is 19 now. I'm sorry. Almost 19. Almost 19.
Awesome. And what does he do? Is he part of the restaurant?
He wants absolutely nothing to do. We started the restaurant business when he was in 8th grade. So we felt a little bad because we had to take it, away weekends at the beach and dinners with friends and getting together with other families because school kids are off Saturday and Sunday, and that's when we work the most.
Right.
However, no matter what he says, the timing worked out perfect because he was really seriously into competing in video games and making money.
Cool.
So he didn't care. He says now, oh, well, you were never home on the weekends. But the truth was, we weren't, but he was happy sitting in his room playing video games.
At that age, I think they're fine. All right, so what was the epiphany? What made you go, all right, I want to own a restaurant and I want to get in I'm going to go all in. And how did that all transpire?
There was no epiphany.
Was there a lot of alcohol? Like, what was happening?
No, actually, you need to have Kurt on here. It was his epiphany. Actually, it was his dream to be in the restaurant business his whole life. He had been involved, he had a fine wine team for 6 years with Premier Beverage. Before that, he was working at Manuel's. Remember Manuel's?
I miss Manuel's. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
That was top-notch, beautiful service.
I think it's a business now. It should be at least a club. It's got the best view.
It's got the most amazing view.
And he was head of marketing there, and then he got him on wine, and then he, I don't want to tell his whole story today, but he really
because it's about Maxine Earhart, right?
So he wanted to have a restaurant, and he was a general manager at Graffiti Junction, and Graffiti owned Maxines right now. They had a Shine neighborhood kitchen.
Shine, sure.
Yeah. And Greg just came up to us and was like, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna." Tom Hughes wanted it because he didn't want to just make burgers or graffiti, so they got this restaurant, and it just wasn't making it. And of course, they realized it didn't have liquor, which is what we're getting to.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
So they let it go, and they sold it to us, and basically said, if anybody can make a go of this, it's probably you two. And so we have worked our butts off. And let me tell you, for 2 years, Kurt lived at the restaurant. I did not. We learned early on all the things I could not do at the restaurant.
We were talking about that earlier, and I love it.
I don't really work. I don't wait tables. I don't cook. I did wash dishes a lot when we first opened the restaurant.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, I didn't really like that.
I don't like that at all. Any action verbs?
I was a really great hostess, so we thought I would be, except for I just wanted to talk to everybody, so I would forget to tell the servers like people were sitting at their tables, and then the people would complain that they weren't waited on yet, and it was my fault because I was talking to other people. So then we learned very quickly within a year that I was public relations and marketing, and that I got to do all the things that I really wanted to do, which was also I like to design and make things. So
I want to talk about that, but I want to include Kurt. I feel like Kurt's here with us.
He said,
but this is a good thing. We could have no better face and personality for our place. Her gracious social skills are the best.
Oh,
isn't that sweet? Thanks. I love it. But you're right. So when I love Kurt. But I know him, so I love him. Yeah. But when I think of Maxine's, who am I going to think of? It's you. It's got you all over it. Whether you're serving me or washing dishes or not serving me, I still think of you immediately when I think of the restaurant. When I think of downtown, I think of you. Mm-hmm. So you decided not to wash dishes.
They all told me just to get out of the restaurant.
But how did you bring your persona to it? Because I think that's what's made the restaurant so successful, is that you all have created a beautiful environment there, a comfortable environment. People feel good when they go there. And a lot of that has to do with the interaction that you and Kurt have with all the customers.
First of all, when it came to naming the restaurant, Kurt wanted, you go to Rogers on Mills, or you go to Fred's over on, Columbia. It's just like when you go to someone's house, you think of the street you're going to.
Correct.
Right? So he said, let's go to Maxines on Shine. So we decided to name it Maxines. And I was okay with naming it after me. I didn't really think I was going to be that involved with the restaurant. Then him and our friend Jimmy Beach got together, and they decided to make a logo for the restaurant. And it was a surprise. I did not know that it was going to be me. With my glasses and the bustier, and so that was kind of a surprise.
It's a great logo, Kurt.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah. So I love the fact that it's like it's kind of weird. It's like I'm kind of like doing one of these things, but I'm like holding a glass of wine in one hand.
No, you're doing good. It's that pose.
Yes. So that lets you know that you can drink wine and you can eat, and then the apostrophe is a little musical note.
I love it.
So there's live music.
It's brilliant. It's a great logo.
Basically, and we created the kind of restaurant that we wanted to hang out at. And the first thing my husband said to me was, well, what do you think a restaurant should be? Because this one thing is for sure, is I lived out of a suitcase for 10 years traveling throughout Europe and New York. I did know what a restaurant should be. And a restaurant should be sexy, comfortable, and delicious.
Nice.
And that's our motto, and that's our goal. That's how we want customers to feel. That's why we put adult art that's very sexy on our walls by our resident artist, Pearl Rankin. We're very proud of her.
That's right. You talked about her in your bio.
Yes.
See, I do read, people. I read. But the rest...
I think people would know not to call
That
you
was a
during your
robocall,
show.
people.
Oh.
So when you walk into Maxine's, if you haven't been, which I can't believe you haven't, but if you walk in, immediately you get that comfortable but sexy vibe to it. And you all have, I don't think I'm sure it's a lot of work, but both of you have this amazing personality. You're embracing, you're engaging.
We like people.
You love people, and
We
so
do.
you can't fake that. And I think a lot of times when you go into a restaurant, you feel like you're bothering them. And I'm generalizing, but there's a lot in town that I would love. We should open a restaurant consulting business, because I swear these people could use a lot of help. You walk in, because I go all the time with my networking and everything, and I go to a bar, I go to a restaurant. If I feel like I want to run screaming in the first 5 minutes, you're going to close. You're going to shut down. I've never been wrong. And it's just a bad place to be. Why would you invest that much money and time if you don't like people, or you hire people who don't like people?
Right.
And I know it's a challenge in the industry. It's got a lot of turnover. There's a lot of things that you all have to deal with. It's not all pretty. It's not
really
all
hard.
It's not as glamorous as
No.
everybody thinks it is.
It's really hard. Did I say it's really hard?
It's so hard. Wait, so I want
It's
to
the
tell.
hardest thing we've ever done.
Bob
And the
says
most hours.
comfortable. So wait, Kurt said your mother-in-law's on. Janine
Oh,
is
hi, Janine.
on.
Hi, Mom.
And Julie Little says we've been waiting to go. We have not made it over. We'll try. It's amazing, Julie.
Oh,
You're
please
going to
do.
love it.
Call and make a reservation, though.
Totally.
I highly suggest it.
Julie's a photographer too.
Oh, great.
Which we want to talk about a little bit. Oh, very pretty public relations person. That's what your mother-in-law said.
Oh,
That's
thank
very
you, Mom.
sweet. So the restaurant, though, itself has had, and I want to talk a little bit about everything else you do, like and photography and arts, but I don't want to mess up and not get to the big news.
I know, we're excited,
This is
right?
huge news, and this is huge news for anyone and everyone.
It is. It's going to change downtown.
But you have been so vocal and so
Yes.
awesome about talking about it, and me for one, that my coffee mug has vodka in it. I would like to have a little vodka at Maxine's place.
Oh, you will. Very
here it
soon.
comes. So
Yeah.
tell them what was going on. Give them a little bit of history.
Well, okay. So when we opened the restaurant, I was involved with the Emerging Designer Contest with Park Avenue Fashion Week, and we were doing like meet both parks, like Thornton Park meets Park Avenue. So we did a fashion show at Hue before it was called Soko
I miss
with
you.
Greg Ritchie.
I love Greg Ritchie, but I loved you.
I think Greg's doing a great job too.
He is totally.
So I was that evening. Craig Usler was there, and he actually came up to me and he said, "Maxine, you would make a great spokesperson for small restaurants being able to have a liquor license." And I was like, "Well, tell me more." And actually he was the very first person that explained to me that you had to have, excuse me, 150 seats in order to get what's called an SRX license. It's a special food service license. So it's 51% has to be food and only 49% can be alcohol. So it's not a bar.
Gotcha.
Okay, a bar can do whatever they want.
Right.
And then they purchase a liquor license. But if you didn't have 150 seats, you were not allowed to purchase this special license that other restaurants could get. If they, like chain restaurants, basically all over Florida, they're everywhere. They have 150 seats. They're large. They can get that special license.
But what was the mindset of that? Like, why does it matter if you have 2 seats or 150
Exactly. We said the same thing. Don't even get me going. That could be like another show, Ted. So the bottom line is so then I just started telling everybody. I started talking to Scott Maxwell. I started talking to Fayez Kara. I started talking to all the, Scott Joseph got involved. I talked to all the different food critics, and I started talking to lawyers, and we started figuring out what is wrong? Like, why can't we get this license? Well, it would have to be a state law. But then the further we looked into it as the years went by, we realized that Jacksonville got around this state law by asking just for one neighborhood, and then 2 neighborhoods, and then 3 neighborhoods. And then St. Pete asked for a neighborhood, and then they got a neighborhood. So when Thomas Chapman and David Barilla put together, and with Scott Joseph, the local food critic, a team of people, and Greg Ritchie was also involved in that, I can name so many other restaurateurs that were involved, got together and we got with the city, and they wanted to know, how can we get more restaurants up and down, Orange Avenue or Magnolia or Roslyn? Why aren't they opening? And we said, because we can't sell liquor.
Right.
We have to have 150 seats. So that you have all these historical buildings that are kind of difficult to make into 150 seats.
Sure.
So, and also when the recession hit, the city just handed out a whole bunch of bar licenses. No restaurants were opening. However, with the new license now, because we worked on it, we were fortunate enough where getting together several times for these meetings, Thomas Chapman was able to put together a bill with all the rest of everybody else, and we had Mike Miller from the House of Representatives sponsor the bill, and then we got together at the county level, and that was another place we had to go speak. We had to get up and talk about the reasoning why we wanted smaller restaurants to be able to have.
Don't you just want to bring a drink with you when you're doing that? I know you're not allowed, but seriously.
No,
to make
not
a
there.
point.
That was like a courtroom, and they gave us like 3 minutes to speak. And my husband, he has no problem speaking in front of an audience, so he was like talking to everybody, and I was just like looking at Senator Torres, just answering his questions. What people didn't realize is that this is the weirdest part. We spend our lives making people happy, but we were not happy, right? Because we're not making money. It was a bad business model. We actually should have shut Maxines down after 2 years and said, okay, this is not working. We're in our 50s. We need a business model that makes money. We want health insurance. We want a new car. We'd like to have a savings, something to retire on.
Right.
But my husband was very insistent that, no, we're going to get this liquor license. We're going to make it work.
He wasn't Kurt. His name's Kurt, just for the record.
Kurt. With a T. K-I for individuality. R-T. So we just kept working at it because the profit margin is different. Do you want me to explain it a little bit?
Sure. I think they want to be educated.
We do have enough time. Oh, no, we're almost out of time.
That's all right.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just that, I'll explain the profit margin another time because it's a little lengthy. But the bottom line is...
So what's the outcome? What's happened?
The outcome is that it passed the House of Representatives and all 3 committees unanimously. It went right over. Linda Stewart, very exciting, was texting me in real time during a luncheon when it was about to go on the floor, and that it passed unanimously. So basically, it's about giving downtown Orlando, thank you, Mayor Buddy Dyer, for having this committee put together and getting this bill.
Mayor Dyer.
Because we can now have, you will see in the future, you will see sexy, comfortable, and delicious restaurants, hopefully, unless they're not like me. But you will see little cafes and retail shops now opening on Orange Avenue because it's not the same investment. It costs, if you have to purchase a liquor license for, say, $280,000, like I won't say the name, but they're spending $2,700 a month on their mortgage, but it's worth it so they can have a liquor license. Now they only have to pay a little bit more than $1,800 a year to have a liquor license.
All right,
and
so
you can have little cafes.
You have questions. So Francesco got on, who
Hi,
has
Francesco. See,
an
another little
amazing. That's
restaurant.
an amazing restaurant in
Yeah,
Maitland.
I love Francesco's.
That's awesome.
That's our go-to restaurant in Maitland, by the way.
I love him. And that whole place is amazing.
I hope to see you all at Maxines soon, by the way.
And we're going to talk about that. Catherine asked, has it been signed? Catherine Sands.
No, here's what happens. The governor gets 15 days from last Thursday to do nothing, and then it becomes an automatic law. Or people can get at him and convince him not to sign it at all and say that, or to veto it is what I should say. So we're kind of holding our breath. Is he going to sign it because he's for small business? Or is he just going to not do anything and not go on record as doing anything, and then it becomes a law? I think we've got like 8 days.
So Kurt says, I've got it. Kurt's her husband, by the way. I've said it 1,000 times. Small business is the backbone of the economy, but small restaurants in Orlando feed that economy. I love it. You should write hashtags and you should write movie trailers. I can hear it in your voice.
Yes.
So that's amazing news. So in 15 days, one way or another, or less than 15 now, we're going to know. And then when does it take place? When can you do what you want to do?
It becomes a law immediately, and then we can go down to the alcohol and tobacco licensing place, and we already have a beer and wine license, so we can apply. And then hopefully within 24 hours get a temporary license, and then they come in, they check to make sure it's 51% food, 49% alcohol. By the way, Ted, I didn't even say thank you for
Why?
inviting me to
Oh my
come on
God,
the show today.
stop.
I'm
so happy.
grateful.
Oh my
I'm
God.
really grateful
I am
that
grateful.
you gave me this opportunity to say
Opportunity.
hi to all my friends and
I've always
talk
loved
about
you.
it.
I think what you guys do in our community and what you're doing is just brilliant, and it's so giving. You guys give back so much.
I'm going
to
to
the
make you a
community.
pillow.
Oh, so let's talk about that before we get to the contact information and your parting
so
words of
before
wisdom.
my husband
I
went
want
to
to
the
talk
restaurant.
about pillows
I
and what you
designed-
do and the
yes.
model homes,
Yes.
because we have a lot of realtors that come on here
Yeah.
or will watch the show later.
Yeah.
So please talk about that, because that's something I didn't know you did.
Yes, I design pillows and draperies for model homes for builders. I've been doing it for 19 years. And then I take the scrap fabrics that are left over, and then I design pillows that usually match the draperies in my restaurant. And that's what we use a lot of times when you go to a silent auction. If you see pillows on a silent auction table, run over there. There's usually a gift certificate to go to our place for dinner or brunch.
Nice. That's amazing. What a talent. You have so much talent. All right, so we're going to post all of Maxine's contact information, give you the link, Facebook link, everything you
T-shirts,
want.
too. I make all the T-shirts.
See, she makes the
At the restaurant, every server has their own individual. Look at the back. They're all individual for their personality.
So Robin, who I think is Eddie Fisher, says something
Yes.
about nude night before I...
The last Tuesday of every month, we do vaudeville shows at Maxine's.
Ah, okay.
So you can come see a burlesque dancer, a ballet dancer, a little Roxanne LeBlanc there. She's in charge of our vaudeville show.
How could her name not be Roxanne LeBlanc?
She's from New Orleans, too.
I mean, come on, that's awesome.
She graduated with a theater degree. She's very passionate, and she's putting together these really great shows for us, so we're very excited about them. And, of course, live music Friday, Saturday, Sundays.
That's right. I have fraternity brother Steve Crone that plays.
Oh, I
and
love Steve.
I do too.
The last thing, something I'm
Tell
really
us.
trying to push. I'm leaning in.
She said, "Is it all right to lean in?" I go,
My
"You can do whatever you want to
girlfriend,
do."
who owns the Coffee Garden, created this little vignette for me on the side of our building next to our chapel. We have a chapel. People come to Maxine's, get your picture taken in front, and redo your your vows again, get married. But stand next to a little sign that says, "I love you to the moon and back." So it's hashtag I love you to the moon and back, Orlando.
I love that. All right, any parting words of wisdom for them?
Well, well, let's see. Come on and visit us at Maxines sonShine. I don't know if that's wisdom.
That's perfect.
And then experience our sexy, comfortable, and delicious vibe.
Absolutely. And you are sexy, comfortable, and delicious. I love you to pieces. You are amazing.
Thank you.
She's just as amazing in person. This is all Maxine.
To the liquor license.
To the liquor license. Amen to that. We love you guys. Thank you so much for all the comments. Maxine and I will hit you up after the show. You guys are amazing. You're amazing. Kurt, thank you for asking all the questions. We love you guys. We will see you tomorrow. Mwah.